And with the microphone, just keep it quite close to your mouth.
Yeah, okay. Are we sharing the one mic?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're sharing one. Okay, so what I normally do when I'm not connected to any one of my devices is I'm out walking with my dog and being around nature, doing the absolute opposite of being connected to the devices. So luckily he is quite demanding and requires walks, and that helps. All right, that's where the creativity flows. So that's where you will usually find me.
Hey, thank you. So for me, I would say just spending time and just being able to say, book everybody in that I want to spend my day or my weekend or my week. So that's ultimately my goal all the time. Everything happens in between.
So I started like 2-3 years ago to fly. I fly a plane, small plane, and it's interesting because you need to switch off everything because it's too complicated. And I thought, yes, this is the way how I want to get out of the AI and all this digital stuff because you need to do with your hands and watch outside, etc. And it's super relaxing. And after 1 hour, that's amazing. That's amazing. And on the other hand, there's actually no signal when you are flying.
Okay, I just did the 3-word version, so writing, walking, and
I'll put the mic back.
Oh, yeah.
We're sharing one, I'm afraid.
Okay.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us straight after lunch. So hopefully you're not too sleepy and have a bit of caffeine and sugar. Oh, got caffeine there. That's good. So my name is Suze and I'm from Technology Coaching, and I'm here to have one of the most important conversations that I think that we can have right now, because we're not talking about science fiction. We're talking about what's happening inside organizations right now, the decisions being made, the skills being built or lost today, and what leaders need to be thinking about this week. So McKinsey's latest research tells us that 90% of companies have invested in AI, but fewer than 40% are seeing measurable results. And the reason is that they're automating individual tasks and they're not redesigning the way the work actually gets done, putting human processes at the forefront. And that's what we're going to be talking about over the next half an hour-ish with each other. I'm going to be getting the countdown here. There will be some time for you all to ask some questions. So throughout while our panelists are sharing their valuable insights, I do recommend you take some notes, and then we will have some time for you to ask those questions as well. So just to give you a little bit of introduction about me, and we'll do the same. I'll introduce all of you and then we'll get started into some questions. So I'm the founder and CEO of Technology Coaching. My work sits at that intersection between people, technology and transformation, especially around the skills and the strategies that organizations need to help their people work effectively alongside new technology. And next to me, we have, it's not in the right order as it is on my screen here, so we've got Dr. Kulbinder Panesar, an assistant professor of applied artificial intelligence at the University of Bradford, with over 30 years in computing and digital transformation, specializing in AI, NLP, and conversational AI. She advises senior leaders and boards on AI strategy, governance, and ethical deployment. She's brought some rich research to this panel, including a framework for how jobs are transforming around AI, and we'll be drawing on that today, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. Dr. Kulbinder gives us the academic and strategic lens of this. And next to that, we have Martin Kirchek, and he's an AI architect at Vodafone, where he leads the strategy and implementation of the voice bot Toby, got it right, and generative AI. He has direct hands-on experience building and deploying AI at scale. And he's also had some fascinating experiences with physical and AI humanoid robots, which I just saw a picture of before, which was a little bit frightening, wasn't it? So he's interested, and he's going to share some valuable experience on how we interact with humanoids and also that kind of conversational piece. So he brings that builder view to the conversation. And in the end, we've got Jared Brown here, who's Global Head of Privacy and AI Governance at Fexco. He is originally a philosophy graduate, fitting background for the questions we'll be wrestling with today. He's a qualified lawyer with a master's in privacy and technology law, a former member of the EU AI Office GPAI Code of Practice Working Group in Brussels. He chairs the AI Working Group at the Confederation of European Data Protection Organisations. He also hosts his own podcast, Outside the Black Box, and he brings the government's and regulatory lens at this conversation meeting. So what a great panel we've got here of experience and skills. So get thinking about those questions as I start off with question 1 here. So we're going to start looking at AI augmentation versus replacement, and there's been a lot of discussion around AI replacing jobs, right? We hear this all the time. So recent research suggests that most current AI use cases are actually augmenting human work rather than replacing it. So just some stats here for the audience. McKinsey's latest report says AI will automate 57% of work hours, but the adoption of it will take decades, and you might be experiencing that. Okay, so to the panel. How do you see the relationships between humans and AI evolving in real workplace environments? So we'll start with the leader and then we'll move on.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm going to reference some research here. So the World Economic Forum, so I think this is a very, very standout statistic. 92 million jobs displaced by 2030, and then what you have are 170 million roles being created. So what does that actually mean? So to some extent, there's as we saw earlier on with Jane was talking about moving to this sort of agent thinking and workflow. So that's the first shift that's necessary, that transition from people doing shifts to workflow sort of automation. The other side is controlling everything. No, it needs delegating. The other side from that is the fact that it's not just simple interactions, but it's going to be actual more true collaboration and value, that all the small value attributes are going to be the collective attribute together. And then the other side is that augmentation from those small attributes that we're talking about, is value creation. So what I think from there, what we have is, as we say, it's not going to be, humans are not going to be irreplaceable. It's those jobs which are going to be augmented. I think we're going to explore that a little bit more, and the fact that it needs a framework that we need to work against. So I think I'm going to stop there for now, and then we'll move on to the next part of this. So I think we'll pass on to the Mark. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Yes, from my experience from companies, it's on one hand, you see really professions like junior developer, programmer, which is very easy to change to AI. They are already doing companies, so I don't need to hire new junior programmers, developers. The question is maybe for the long-term run, after 10 years, after 20 years. But when you talk to like a normal-sized company, no one cares about that. I'm the owner. I don't care about what will be after 20 years, after 10 years. So it's normal, but it's maybe for the huge companies like, I don't know, IBM or those companies who are thinking in a very long time period. Second thing is when you run, for example, in ChatGPT, this deep research, you will get, 10 to 20 pages of materials, and you need to read it. So you will get either 2-3 hours to do something. So for me, it's okay. AI just bringing us new activities, new things to do. And so this is another view. And the third one, from my personal experience, is yes, I'm talking to AI, GPT, Copilot, etc. many times a day. I think 50. I never counted. And I will appreciate if there's a function like, hey Martin, stop using it. I will not answer any more till tomorrow morning 8 o'clock, because you need to talk to normal people. You need to do something else. I know I can switch to not pay tariff and I will get the functionality. But I think what is important, because the AI touching me every time, anytime, with any topics. So just to make some conclusions, from my personal view, I'm using, and I guess everyone will use it more and more and more, because I want to get some answers. So I will ask. It's super fast. On the working environment, it's not easy to answer, especially when you talk from junior persons to the top management, because I guess maybe different view. The top management, they don't use AI so much, so they don't know how it's powerful. But maybe it's a question for this year, maybe next year. And then they will understand the power of that, and then will be some changes.
I won't say too much. I just think one thing that maybe gets lost in the analysis about jobs and job replacement is the distinction between task replacement and role replacement. And jobs tend to be a lot more complicated than we see at first glance. So if you were a lawyer, let's say maybe AI could replace 3 or 4 of your core tasks, but there may be 15 core tasks in your role. And we can see maybe junior program developer might be the first kind of role that starts getting affected. But jobs are a lot more complex than the kind of analysis we do on a knee-jerk basis, and the human part of them is certainly critical. The only other thing I'd say at this stage, I think, is that it really is more than just an employment question. It's a long-term social and economic question, how we would have the time to get ready for the changes that are coming. And even though we can see a lot of augmentation happening, there is companies at the moment spending more than the Apollo project and Manhattan project on developing AGI to pretty much squarely just take a wrecking ball to roles in general. And that's just something on a societal and regulatory point of view. There's no way on earth we can allow that to play out over 10, 20 years.
Thank you to the panelists. There's some really just key points to pull out there. It is about jobs. We're worried a little bit about the jobs, and I think we can see that across, but we've got to think about how that works in practice. Okay, let's move on to thinking about how does that human AI collaboration, what does that look like in practice? Because as these AI systems become more capable, we're seeing a shift from using the tools to collaborating with intelligent systems. So what does effective human AI collaboration actually look like in practice? So Martin, I'll just ask you to start with.
Okay, thank you. So just 3 types of view. One is, for example, from Vodafone, we have chatbot and voicebot. And we tested already like 2 options, like Toby. Is it necessary to introduce Toby is not a human, Toby is AI? So we tested, and when you say, okay, Toby is a robot, for people it's more understandable or clear. Okay, it can make that there could be some mistakes, but on the other hand, but not for Vodafone area, people trust more the chatbot or the robot when they are talking about like 2 areas. It's money and sex. Because when you have a problem with one of two areas, you are a little bit scared to talk to a human. And when you know, oh, it's an only robot, okay, you can help me with some money. So this is one thing which is important, and also we can see from AI that we have to do it. Say this is not a human. The second thing is from the employees' point of view. There is a study from Google, from Microsoft that maybe 1 year old, that 75% of employees are using AI. It doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal, they want to use it because it's really helpful. So again, we are going back to the management, and they need to do something with that. They need to provide solutions, which is already existing, right? And train them and tell them what to do. Again, we have AI which is covering all these things. And the third thing, personal experience with this humanoid robot. Everyone saw that on video, but when it's standing in front of you, everyone wants to touch it. Wow, that's cool, that's great. And when it starts to move, 1/3 of person just go back. Oh my God, it's really here. It's moving. It's so stupid on one hand. It's not a robot, which we know from movies, but it's here. And we are, as people, like a little bit scared about that. So it's not good to be humanoid. It's not human-like. It's better to see, okay, it's a robot, good. I don't want to have like the head and face and hair on that because it's still a little bit scary. So this is my experience.
Jared, do you want to add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can, yeah, sure. I just think maybe with the way we're going, we're likely to see roles shifting to interacting with agents or interacting with AI more and more. There's interesting research just on some of the pitfalls. If you look at the history of automation, there's traditionally been problems on the handoff from the automation to the human, and the human not understanding what it is that they need to do from the handoff. In some kind of emergency contexts, lives were lost where the machine is a handoff to the human and the human doesn't know what it's supposed to do. And I guess, surprise, surprise, we struggle in emergency pressure situations where there's very little time. And the other part is that with agents, again, there's research on this, that we as workers may be stuck in the unenviable position of having reduced control but increased liability. So where agents do something wrong, again, the historic examples show that when computers go wrong, it's actually still humans who get blamed. So in the future where we may have less and less control of what's happening, but more and more responsibility, that's something that we need to govern as well with AI agents.
Thank you. We're passing this back and forth here. It's interesting that around the roles and responsibilities, because we mentioned briefly there around there's a generation that trusts the technology more than others. So that kind of 75% want to use AI tools or implementing it whether they're allowed or not, and they trust the answers that they're getting back from them. But then there's the responsible reliability of being blamed if something happens with that AI tool. So let's go into that a little bit further. So if AI becomes something closer to a digital colleague, how do you think organizations need to rethink roles, responsibilities, and decision-making structures? So what needs to change inside the organizations for humans and AIs to work together successfully, even if it's without humanoids to start off with, if it's just our interactive tools? I'll start with you, Belinda.
Okay, yeah. So I think what the future is going to look like. So the future of the workforce is going to be a partnership with humans, agents, and robots. I think that's quite. I think we've seen that through the conversation that we've just had, and I think what it's going to be the case is, what is going to be automable, and what capabilities do we require it to have, and then it's a case of what cognition needs to be. What are those cognitive capabilities we require, and what is physical as well at the same time. Now, so to some extent, when we start breaking that down, 2/3 of the working day is basically stuff that can be basically is non-physical, and then we can look at it from a non-physical point of view. We can look at it as how automable it can be and how less automable it can be. So with that in mind, I want to highlight that out of that, those non-physical the non-physical activities, you've got 50%, 57% of something that can be literally automable. And so I wanted to highlight something called the archetypes here. And the archetypes are in the sense of how are they broken down from being less automable to fully automable. So you've got the people-centric, which is where we really, really need that human interaction completely. Then you get to the point where you have the human to the agent, you've got the human to the robot. Then you've got what we call the agent-centric, you've got the robot-centric, and then you get to the point where you've got people to robots, and then you've got people to agents to robots. So now we're getting this extreme case of, all three of them working together in terms of making those solutions of value, and in terms of being able to be scalable as well. So these variations from, so earlier on, Mohammed was talking about the autonomy and the autonomy evolving. And in this example, I've just shown you that it's going to be evolving. Use cases are going to be somewhere along that autonomous sort of spectrum. So it's going to be a case about what do we actually want, that combination, how much reasoning do we require that to, what other cognition, do we need any what form of decision making is necessary here. So I'm just going to leave that less automable to the fully automable sort of concept with you. Okay, over back to you.
There's 7 architectural types there for us to think about, not just our standard conversational LLM that we've been discussing over the day so far, but there's interest in there around, okay, we've seen some examples of that over how some jobs have been replaced with robotics being included as part of that. So, car manufacturing being part of that. We're seeing this now within conversational for Vodafone, for example, that first port call is that you're interacting with a chatbot. But there needs to be some governance around what sits as the fundamental foundations of all of that. So how do organisations, or how should organisations really balance that innovation and experimentation with risk management and responsible deployment? And what role does human oversight play as AI systems become more autonomous and agent-driven? And Jared, I'll start to you for this one.
Sure. I'll just focus in on the human oversight piece, because it's most relevant to where we are today in this discussion. But Article 14 of the EU AI Act talks about human oversight being designed into AI systems from a provider perspective, and then a deployer having to actually do real human oversight, human controls in practice. I guess the way that the world is with human in the loop, so you effectively have human in the loop, human on the loop, and human in command, or human out of the loop, as we heard earlier. And any company is going to be looking at AI and understanding how risky is the activity and which one of those kinds of controls should be put in place. So human in the loop would be maybe kind of a trivial scenario where you work with generative AI all day long and you query it constantly. Human on the loop would be a trigger where you're called in to deal with something. So a content moderator, a lot of it is done automatically, but the content moderator gets a trigger to say, take a look at this video. And human in command is like the doctor controlling a robotic arm or the pilot flying the plane. They're permanently in command, but in a sort of I'll take over as and when is needed. So that sort of the matrix or analysis is going to become something I think probably common that companies will have to do. And obviously there's trade-offs. So the more risk, the more human involvement you need, and then there's a little bit less efficiency, but this is a bit of a moving target. The other thing I'd just say is about the constant way in which we use language can be obscured. So we always talk about AI thinking and human thinking. So AI doesn't think, so thinking is something that happens in human brains in a real world. But we are going to have this situation of an awful lot of AI-generated decisions and then a human mind trying to interpret that decision. But they're two very different things. This is like water and oil. An AI-generated decision is looking at maybe 1 million data points across subjective data sets, whereas a human looks at subjective contextual context and makes a decision. So I just think, again, a very new horizon for us to, it's not as easy to say, sit down there and interpret the AI. There's an awful lot of work going to be needed in that translation, if you like.
I think that leads really nicely on to what are the skills that people need to be able to interpret AI tools and any sort of agentic models, and what are currently required. We're seeing those gaps already, but then what's going to be required in this kind of 10, we sort mentioned about in our pre-calls that this kind of now compared to 2030 model as well. So I think we'll ask this question to all of them, and then that gives you time to think about your questions, please, as well. So what human skills are more valuable in an AI-enabled workplace? Critical thinking, judgment, creativity, emotional intelligence, and communication. And on the flip side are the cognitive tasks of, or the cognitive risks of cognitive decline, overload, fragmented thinking. How do organisations protect their people while still moving forward? I'll just go and work carefully there.
Okay, so I think it all comes back to leadership. I think if we don't have an operating model of some kind which involves people, nobody's going to know what talent you have, what skills you have, and how far you're being stretched with your skills as well. So coming back to what you were saying, as part of your job, I mean, Heido mentioned about AI systems multiplying, that multiplying concept. At one point, it gets to the point where the job gets so much that, your actual scope starts to get extended a little bit more. Your boundary, your everything gets blurred because you're working 24/7, you're monitoring things. You don't want to stop looking at something. So that's going to have an impact on your skill set as well. And then the final thing is the fact that you're having to multitask so much. That multitasking means that you're having to look at we talked about workflows earlier on, so many simultaneous workflows that you've got to keep track on. And at the same time, you're trying to keep track, get to a point where it's all about attention. Attention leads to, a lack of attention, and then to errors as well. So I think in terms of that skill set, I think it all needs to be managed on a level where what are those specific skill sets that are required for workflows, for those we talked about agents earlier on, those particular tasks. And then in terms of even using those tools to make decisions, what level, what skill set, very meticulously to those actual finite traits, I think it all needs managing from a very top-down approach. Otherwise, the technology is going to go. The technology is going to evolve as we see. It's the people that need to also evolve with that technology as it's advancing, as well as it having all the issues that Darren's just mentioned. So, I'll just leave you there with that skill set and managing that skill set as well for the best of those talented people that you hire.
I think the most important thing is to be a manager. No one wants to manage, actually. But when you look to AI or ChatGPT, who is asking 1 + 1 and expecting something? No, you are putting more complex tasks. And this is the way how managers are thinking. But the same when I press the button on a Roomba robot, just clean the room. I don't care about the speed and the direction, etc. So I think the most valuable thing on human everywhere, we have to be managers. We have to manage AI. It's super hard. And we can see when you talk to children at school who can make a nice prompt, actually can make a nice question. So for me, it's to be a good manager. And it's good that this type of training, how to become a manager, it's here for a long time. It's all the soft skills training, etc. So companies can do it. They're already doing that. And it's only moving to everyone. Just you have the power, you have the tools or solutions, ask them, and they will do it.
I think on the whole, in terms of the skills that we should protect, continue to use, AI doesn't do genuine creativity, imagination, or critical thinking, any of these really important things. So I think it's a given that we should continue to develop all those skills ourselves. The cognitive decline problem is already here. I find it absolutely shocking. But if we are going to use AI that much, we would have to develop ways to compensate for brain activity otherwise somehow. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure what it would really look like in 30 or 40 years. We have a situation where studies can already show that when you use AI, there literally are no theta waves happening in your brain. So the memory banks did not get used, did not get activated, so you didn't remember anything. So I would just say urgently to everybody, in 10, 15 years, your own input is going to be the most valuable thing in the world if everybody else that you know is relying on AI. That difference and the uniqueness, that is totally 100% the human thing. And the companies who succeed in AI are the ones who will use it and combine it with everything that's brilliant about the humans they have. So, yeah.
An expression that was taught to us at Apple is that our core is our people, and I think that will not change as we need to think about being more human in this world of AI and agentics. So, any questions from the audience here just now?
I'm sure there's plenty who would like to go first.
Bethany, thank you for this panel. I work at a college in Connecticut in the US. I don't know if it's speaking loud enough. Okay. So I work with university and college students, and it's a 2-year degree. They get associates and then they either transfer or they go out to the job field. And our professors are all freaking out because like 91 to 95% of the students are using AI. And I'm taking an intro to AI course right now for tuition. So I'm also a student of AI, and I would like to know from your perspectives, what do our students need in the next 1 to 3 years, right? Because we're in a really weird, like transition. Yeah, where the people who are using it, I think I was taking a class at University of Glasgow. They have something on, the ethics inclusion, and the big question is, how do we teach our students that are going, the employers want AI skills? How are we teaching them the information literacy they need about the responsible and ethical use? Because just because you can use it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And also, for example, just like last week, I went to my accountant to get my taxes done, and it's a small firm. They threw an agentic AI on their front page. I can't get to a human. I'm paying out the nose, and I'm being blockaded, and I'm when I get back to home, I'm taking my data, and I'm finding a new accountant. So that's the other thing is, if you don't know what you're doing, it's sort of like having a dog poo on your front stoop and not picking it up. It's a really bad look if you're not doing it well. So what do our students need to know in order to get the jobs, and also to teach the C-suite, right? The people above them, like this, we don't do it just to do it, we do it responsibly, ethically, because if you do it wrong, there's no forgiveness.
Interesting.
Is it to a particular person or
Whatever. I could probably start.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I actually run an undergraduate applied AI course. So we allow the use of AI. So we basically say you can use AI in this way, something called specific AI. So I think in terms of your holistic question, it's all about education. So it depends upon what courses they currently are working on. So we at the university, I'm at the University of Bradford, so we have policies where a sort of a university-wide policy on the use of AI for assignments, coursework. Now, from a sort of a software engineering perspective, we encourage our students to, a year ago, yes, please, you need to fix this. You can go and use Stack Overflow to fix this piece of code that's not working. I don't mind you doing that. Year on now, everybody's using code to be able to troubleshoot those problems and refactor their code. So it's the way that you build it into the assessment. You want them to try something out which is a commercial expectation now, but at the same time, what you want to be able to do is ask them to reflect on how did they use the AI? What did you actually learn? And how is it going to be used? How have you adapted it in order to obviously get the outcomes that you desire for this particular piece of work? So I think from a very high level perspective, it needs championing. So what we have at the university are sort of like AI special interest groups. So it formed out of a couple of external people coming in, and then developing like I say, a university-wide policy, then a departmental-wide policy, right down to the subject level to say, how does this subject differ from another one where AI may be used completely or no AI for that fact. Yeah. So I think it needs champions need to come in and they need to lead by example. So I would suggest that. So I'll stop there. That's yeah.
I would absolutely love to go into much more detail with all the other speakers.
Exactly.
We've got 2 minutes left. Unfortunately, we're not going to have time for questions. I do just want to finish off with one last sentence for all of the speakers, if you could answer just in a quick fire. If there's one thing organisations should start doing today to prepare for the future of AI and work, what should it be? Jared, we'll start from the bottom.
That's not that way.
Maybe just try to think what would it be like in 5 years and start planning further now. And I guess trying to give your employees as an asset and not a labour cost. Because if you leave them as a lateral, then it's only going to go in one direction.
I think the most important thing is to start. Don't wait till we'll be perfect for 100% answers, etc. Take one of your process, split into small parts, and ask, can I do it with AI? Okay, let's try it. Because otherwise, you will lose also, and your competitors, they will definitely use AI.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 things. One is basically sort of like foster sort of a culture of AI literacy. So what does AI literacy mean? The second thing is continuous learning. Everybody's on that CPD, continuous learning. And the last one is embracing sort of like the functional change of AI, really trying to take that in your stride to say, it's here, it's not going away. Let's take some steps to move forward with it, the good, the bad, the ugly of it. Thank you.
Let the humans come together to solve the problems in the AI's work with them and develop them. So what a great conversation. I would open it up to, if you've got any further questions, jump into their LinkedIn and ask them there. Absolutely, get to your question at the back if you've got any further questions as well. So the data is clear, the technology is moving fast, but the organisations that will thrive are not the ones that are deploying AI the quickest, they're the ones investing in their people alongside it. So building the curiosity and the critical thinking and the confidence to work with these tools rather than be replaced by them. The future of work is not something happening to us, it's something we get to shape, and that starts the conversations exactly like we've been having from our fantastic panellists today. Please connect with them on LinkedIn and myself, and we can follow up with any questions there. Thank you.
Thank you.